9238. That's 866-762-9238. You can also go to their website at www.enerfood.com. That's ENERF like Frank, OOD like dog.com. Enerfood.com. A big thank you to all of our listeners already taking the products that Ener Health offers. We truly appreciate it. We thank you for your support and encourage you to listen often to stay informed during these crucial times.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Hawk coming to you. It's a live program Thursday night, 23, 2013, the year of the snake, according to the Red Chinese. And anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that has become highly evident. But let us go right directly to the Lord here. And I was reading something from a friend, and they had this included. It's Psalm 1, Book of Psalms, Psalm 1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season, and his leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. Ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. So these ungodly people who come after right to life groups, who come after constitutional groups, conservative groups, who come after Jewish groups, who come after reporters, who come after anybody who does not agree with Luciferian scumbags who want to be the Joker Tut lizard of the entire world. Anybody who doesn't agree, they get hit. And then he has the temerity then today to stand up there and say, oh, we don't want to chill. We don't want to chill the investigative reporting. And at the same time, he has Holder sign the paperwork and agrees with him for signing the paperwork, which goes after Rosen. They're talking about Rosen with Fox News arresting him under the Espionage Act. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, it's coming down. The Sandy Hook, this guy, it's Sandy Hook now. First of all, they came out, the Connecticut General Assembly, and you see, in Sandy Hook, I don't think they were all actors, but something weird was going on there. And we know that that was the case because of the other people arrested, which apparently some of them now may have been like federal cops or something like that. The other guys arrested in the woods, undercovers, whatever. And that the car that the actor drove, that the kid drove to do the killing, belonged to this individual. We see they won't let any of that out. At Connecticut General Assembly, we will never know the details, if they're successful, of what happened at the Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown on December 14, 2012. The Hartford Courant reports that the state's top prosecutor and the governor's office are working in secret. Those things done in secret with the General Assembly, you see. Leaders on legislation designed to withhold records related to the police investigation of the incident. If enacted, the legislation will hide from public scrutiny photos of victims, 9/11 call records, and other evidence. What is this, another Kennedy assassination where you're going to seal it all up? Why does it have to be sealed up? Why does it have to be sealed up? You scumbag governor and you General Assembly people in Connecticut, why? And then I guess last December, remember the bag man of the Connecticut State Police, the bag man, the one keeping it all contained, the investigation Lieutenant J. Paul Vance of the Connecticut State Mounties threatened last fall to prosecute investigative journalists who questioned the official narrative. Oh, Lieutenant J. Paul Vance, how dare anybody in America question the official narrative? Oh, yes. We live in scumbag Connecticut now, I guess, huh? Scumbag Connecticut dictatorship, is that correct? You just ridiculous. Well, now, that was bad enough, but now it seems as though that they have arrested now somebody who's been putting out YouTube videos, Scotty Walker apparently, arrested for exposing Sandy Hook truth. Now, apparently, I guess they have said that he threatened somebody, some official. Obviously, he threatened the official narrative. How dare he question that? On YouTube, nevertheless. So here you have another, let's say, journalist in a sense, citizen journalist, who has the right to ask questions, and he has now been arrested in Connecticut. So now you got Rosen of Fox News, and I'm going to tell you something. When you start arresting the news reporters had better get it. They had better get it and understand it. And I'll tell you what, for all of those people like the head of the IRS, the former head of the IRS in testimony, who couldn't would say what the First Amendment was, or this amendment, or that amendment, or the 19th Amendment. And he said he didn't know what they were, but he was a lawyer. Well, let me tell you something. He's a scumbag is what he is. But the fact of the matter is, somebody at a high level, and I submit to you, I will allege that the enemies of the Joker Tut, just as the enemies of old Tricky Dick, that the same type of thing took place, and they went after that. It's a shame we don't have the recording of the president's office again to see what is being said in there by the Joker Tut lizard. So here's the First Amendment for you, IRS scum. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. So consequently, they're now going after everybody. And I would say to you one thing, members of the large mainstream press, welcome to the dance. Many of you who listen to this show long remember how there was a booming knock on the door and the cops came when I was on the air. And then I had to talk to them on the phone while I was on the air on a separate phone. And consequently, you recall that. You'll also remember how other people that has happened to. And I will tell you that there has been all of this stuff going on for years. And even today, ladies and gentlemen, even today, in the last couple days, you got Zulu Romeos out there hunting. You got covert hunters inside the United States hunting, who? They're hunting somebody to kill them. And we ain't talking about drones. We're talking about somebody going to get it. And then you just got to wonder, ladies and gentlemen, how it's just such a coincidence, a coinky-dink, huh? It's coincidence that these FBI agents die mysteriously in a quote-unquote training accident in a helicopter. Oh, we don't know if it's shooting. We don't know if it's a helicopter, but maybe it is a helicopter, but we don't know. We can't tell you. Just at the same time, do you ever really want to be questioned by FBI agents? Because when you get questioned by FBI agents, along with 2 other Massachusetts police officers, you get a canoe made through the center of your head with, what does the FBI use? 40 cal ammunition? You got 2 canoes right in the old brain pan. And then they say, oh, well, he pulled a knife. But now they backed up with that, and now they had to send not only the Tampa boys had to come over to Florida there to Orlando, but you had to have the Washington, D.C. special HUD team come in. And now they're saying, we're backing off of the story of the so-called Chechen, the Russian guy, who allegedly is a friend of Tamerlane Tsarnaev, the Boston bomber, alleged Boston bomber. Because you see, they're dead, aren't they? Just like Oswald, you can't prosecute them. So now the FBI agents who are involved in the arrests up there, they all of a sudden just seem to turn up dead in a training accident. Is this starting to look like Nazi Germany or Soviet Russia or Red China or North Korea? Because if you think it is, then you are 100% correct. The only thing is that there's still a few people who are still in strong delusion. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the beginning of it. It's already started. It's not coming. It's already started. And I will tell you, here you go. You want to get taken into custody, FBI? I'll tell you what, they better stand out front with the big, giant search warrant and a talker, because anybody who comes to the door, who would even trust that they are FBI agents anymore? Do you see what you did, boys? Fiddle with boys internally. Do you see what you've done? Do you see what you have done by participating in your Division 5 crap, your Div 5 crap? Oh, I've known a few guys who investigate the bank robberies. You're pretty good guys. All that kind of stuff. You're in those divisions. But when it comes to this world here, were you running again? Were you running Tamerlane Tsarnaev, or was that a CIA operation? But you never know, because you did participate and you did run the guy in 93, the first Twin Trade Towers bombing, and you told him to go ahead. You, FBI, told the Egyptian colonel or captain of an intelligence guy who had been in the Egyptian military intelligence, you told him to go ahead and to put the real stuff in the bomb and to give him the real stuff. And then it blew the Twin Trade Towers, the first time. So that's what the FBI is about. That's what you're about. So I would not trust an FBI agent or an ATF agent or a DHS agent, anybody from this government anymore, because you people are lawless. You are operating in a climate of lawlessness, and that all stems from Lucifer himself. It stems through your leadership, which goes up to Holder, where you were running guns, but you were doing it at the behest of the Joker Tut Lizard, I allege, were you not? You want to investigate somebody? Then investigate a Indonesian usurper, somebody who's not supposed to be president, an Indonesian usurper allegedly recruited by the KGB as a teenager when he was in Indonesia, who has a social security number allegedly from a dead white man from Connecticut, and who had a grandmother. This Joker Tut Lizard had a grandmother, this usurper had a grandmother allegedly working for the Social Security Administration. And to get that Social Security number, you would have to live in Connecticut, which now we've got Connecticut covering up again for some kind of a thing, do we not? Oh, ladies and gentlemen, it just gets rich, doesn't it? It just gets wonderful. It just gets really, really going, does it not? Now, let me tell you what's going on and all the things that's happening. There's all kind of traffic out here. And first of all, I told you that there is a lot of Zulus, a lot of Zulu Romeos. And if you remember, it was Z.R. Rifle. Quote, Z.R. Rifle was one of the people involved in the Kennedy assassination that came out in investigations. And I will tell you this, it is time that we had a full-blown investigation. I don't care if it's special prosecutor or if Congress does it, but it better be done. It better be done quick. And that special investigation needs to include the President of the United States. It needs to include the President of the United States because the fact of the matter is that he was the ultimate person in charge at Benghazi. He and his people were the ones directing the IRS, directing the FEC, where Lerner worked before, and where she did the same thing. The Federal Election Commission, same type of thing. Went after Christians, Christian coalition. And ladies and gentlemen, I will say this to you. You need to investigate Benghazi, which was an intelligence operation because they shut up somebody who may not have been continuing to cooperate with the use of Al-Qaeda, hiring and use of Al-Qaeda, and the giving them of man-pad missiles and other high-value armaments to go then play and become the rebels in the Syrian rebels and resistance, which now those people have been cutting the hearts out of people, okay, have been eating their hearts on YouTube. These people have been beheading people, and now in the streets of London, you got the beheading, you got it all going on. And this guy refuses to tell you that he wants to continue the drone program, but when he's thinking about drones, he's thinking about using them on you in the United States because you will not go along with what his Luciferian scum world has to do. Now, Zulu stuff is totally covert. You know, very few people know, but I'm going to tell you what, it is going on out there. Now, let me tell you other things. Steve Quayle has put up at stevequayle.com, has put up alerts talking about a lot of C-130 activity, stuff that had very plain Jane C-130s that are just maybe silver with hardly any tags or any kind of stuff on them, landing in multiple different places, different bases and what have you around the United States, down in the southeast, different places. We've also had two Antonovs, Russian Antonovs, can't pronounce that word, the big lifted aircraft, land one right after each other in Texas, I believe in Houston. What are they offloading? What is coming in? Well, I'll tell you what, once again, we hear from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base that last weekend, once again, even though they've had an incident where good U.S. military went after and questioned why these Russians were coming in, and then Russians, of course, and then the Red Chinese came in at Wright-Pat at the behest, I tell you, and allege, at the behest and in the pay of the U.S. government and the DHS, Department of Human Sacrifice, and possibly under United Nations auspices, but being paid by and through DHS programs. Well, this past weekend, more Russian military came into Wright-Pat. And we know that in spite of the fact that Wright-Pat is desperately trying to keep a lid on their base, and that everybody in that whole area of Dayton to Cincinnati is being nailed down in all kind of groups. They're going after hams. They're going after anybody who ever worked on the base. And you see, the killers and the people out there are getting ready to kill those people who know the truth about what has been going on and what under the auspices or the direction of the Joker Tut Lizard, his henchmen surrounding him, where it's now proven that his chief of staff knew about the IRS stuff, but they never told him. Bravo, Sierra. Every single president has liaison officers to each of the main departments in the executive branch. It is his branch. And since 1933, since the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917, as amended 1933, otherwise known as, a.k.a., the Emergency Powers Act, since we have had since 33 an executive branch dictatorship, then you're telling me that the dictator, the Joker Tut Lizard dictator, does not know what's going on? Yet we also hear from the intelligence world, and this is for the friends of Roland Carnaby and those who know, how he pays specific attention to individual agents who have been killed because they will not swear allegiance and go along. Or the SEAL Team 6 guys that got taken out, along with the Army warrant officers, the air controllers, in the older Chinook helicopter. And isn't that interesting that some of those guys were the ones involved in the Bin Laden raid, where they went after the fake Bin Laden, the one that was the double, because the original died many years ago. But this was the one that was continued on, and this is the one that was still in their Tim Osmond world and sphere of influence and pay. Because Tim Osmond was Osama's real name. When it came to the base, the database of Muslims and Arabs that would work for money for the CIA. So, ladies and gentlemen, here we have a situation. And here's one here. This was sent to Steve. Dear Steve, I've been reading about reported increased military movements and activities in the past week. I have been noticing an increase as well, as I live about 13 miles from a major Air Force base. I have never seen so many C-130s pass over in one day. And I've lived here most of my life. There's also been a lot of fighter jet activities, a few flying in formations, and also a lot of military helicopters flying by. Now, there's more to that, but I'm not going to say that right now at this point in juncture in time, because I've got to keep going here. Now, the fact is that we got a report. I got a report today, Steve did too, from somebody who had said they have a deep background source in the shooting and loot world, in the tar patch world, that says that those vials from the University of Texas, Galveston, are out there and in the hands of the wrong type of people, meaning those people in the federal government or those people who are patsies of the government who might use those vials of the flu viruses, etc., and the different bioweapons and release them. To wit, I will tell you also what's going on. The SARS-like coronavirus from Saudi Arabia has now made it to the New York City hospitals. Now, also, there's a mysterious illness that popped up in Alabama. Yeah, good old Alabama. Home of the old, a large number of the old paperclip Nazis. The old Werner von Braun buddies. The Fourth Reich enablers. Yes, those who would like to see the Fourth Reich come in. you see. Well, anyway, it's interesting that it pops up in Alabama because it's a mysterious illness, although the article says, well, one of them tested for H1N1, regular flu, but there is no H7N9. There's no H7N9 flu. And then you go down the article, and it goes blah, blah, blah. They fiddle the can up and down and saw the old bow across the old strings and, jerk your heart out and all that stuff. And then at the end it says, well, the CDC is investigating it. But we don't really know what it is because it's been too early for the test to come back. So if it's too early for the test to come back, then how can they tell you it's not H7N9? Or perhaps a new jump, a new mutation of the H7N9 or the H5N1. Or maybe they're coming together. Or maybe they've added mousepox in it because 7 people in Alabama caught the disease and 2 of them are already dead. So, ladies and gentlemen, I suggest to you out there that everybody that you get your mesosilver, you get your oil of oregano, you get all of the things that you possibly can get and start taking them prophylactically, preventatively on a daily basis. And also take the Interfood and all of the different items that you can get to keep your immune system built up. At the same time, you need the things that will lower your viral load and your bacterial load and to kill that stuff that will not be then susceptible, as is many of these new infections are no longer susceptible or being, in other words, they build up a resistance to Tamiflu and these other antivirals and antibiotics. Whereas you've got the mesosilver, the high-quality colloidal type silver of the mesosilver brand, which is one of the top qualities. You've got that. You can go to stevequayle.com and look it up. And then also the oil of oregano. I've taken that for 10 years because I don't want to get anything. So you better start doing it on a prophylactic, preventative type basis. Because, ladies and gentlemen, that still is what the Luciferians would best be served by. So therefore, we try to preclude it by saying it out loud and putting it in the bright sunshine that the Lord has brought onto this planet. And to let people know that the possibility exists of this taking place. Now, once again to Ohio. A couple of days ago, in North Warren County, apparently, which is in that area north of Cincinnati, next to Little Dickie Jones's Butler County, they locked down about 9 square miles with cop cars and every kind of thing, allegedly because somebody walked off a prison farm or off of a prison area or what have you. And they were not only doing that, they were searching all the big checkpoints. They had all kind of stuff going on. They also told people they had to stay in their homes. It was a total military style cordon and search lockdown. So are they practicing again for something like the flying pig that we probably prevented? Are they practicing for it? We'll be back in a minute.
With natural and man-made disasters and economic turmoil, if we don't get well prepared, we will most certainly regret it. Good readiness must include storage of high-quality food that will build us up rather than tear us down. Much of the storable food available is full of bad fats, salt, sugar, nutrient-poor refined foods, and even MSG. In response, EnerHealth Botanicals has created our 40-day and 40-night 100% organic preparedness pail. It's GMO-free and has a 10 to 20-year shelf life if stored at 60 degrees or less. Some of the items need cooking, some can be eaten dry, while some can be soaked and sprouted. These are selling out fast at a third the price of storable food packages. Call us at 866-762-9238. That's 866-762-9238. Or go to enerfood.com, ENERFOOD.com. 866-762-9238. Or go to ENERFOOD.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Hawk. It is Thursday night, I believe the 23rd date of May, and we're coming up on a weekend here, 2013. We're coming up on a weekend, Memorial Day weekend, where there is always lots of checkpoints for driver's license, DUI, seatbelts, equipment checks, whatever they want to call them. But they've got everything going on, and I guarantee you this thing in Warren County was not anything related to that. But yet at the same time, it was extremely scary and intimidating. And it was a real Nazi-like lockdown. And what a great, Evans and I talked about before, cordon and search. Cordon and search. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's all kind of stuff out there as well that I will tell you about that you haven't heard about. There's a lot of stuff out there, supposedly text from a Navy SEALs source. But let me tell you about some others that I know took place. Lebanon, Ohio. Lebanon, Ohio, just down the road. There was a whole huge hazmat lockdown at a courthouse where some letter with powder was put in there again. So we've got another one of these powder, in the letter kind of businesses, which they're going to try to pin on somebody. Remember they tried to pin the one on the Elvis guy down there, and it turns out it wasn't him. And that was the good old FBI, remember? Trying to pin it on him, and they pinned it on to another guy, didn't they? So here we have 4 people in Lebanon, Ohio, allegedly at the courthouse, supposedly, which was locked down. 4 of them went to the hospital because the powder started burning their hands and, and getting into the air. Now, this is interesting because at the same time, at the Cincinnati VA hospital, they supposedly received, and they had a lockdown there, and they received a letter with a mysterious substance or powder in it. And consequently, the vets couldn't go in and get their appointments in those certain days because it was locked down. So here you have a whole scenario of things going on there. And I would remind you, this is still in the time frame when you're bringing in Russian military and Spetsnaz types into Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. You people up there at Wright-Patterson Air Force Joint Base or whatever you are, where you got the little green men underground there and all that stuff, and you clandestinely fly stuff out of your real back deep underground hangars, and you fly them in and out. You people are taking orders from Lucifer or the Antichrist, whoever. You're taking something. If you are allowing Russian and red Chinese military inside the United States, then you are traitors and you are treasonous, and whoever has ordered you to do it, you should arrest them and put them in irons rather than you practicing and bringing in people in some kind of deal to where you practiced at Atterbury, Muscatatuck last fall. You practiced a nuclear weapon going off in Cincinnati, didn't you? You practiced that, and you did your checkpoints on the bridges. Now you're still doing it. Well, let me tell you something. We're on to your Luciferian scum. And I've had some police up there say, we're not like Sheriff Little Dicky Jones. You and your rants, you need to slow your chill. Well, you know what? I'm going to scream louder, cops, because just wait. You think you're so good, man. You think you're good in these cases. And you just wait till they put your families and lock them up in the secret thing when they declare martial law, in the secret safe zone, so that your families are protected. And you know you've already written down on the list who you want to get to be able to pass through the checkpoints, because they asked everybody that quite a few years ago, didn't they? So, ladies and gentlemen, here you got all these Russian Spetsnaz types, some of which, one of which took over after they landed at the corner there of the old Voice of America. And then mysteriously you have somebody go into the Voice of America in a helicopter. There was a Russian helicopter that we tracked. The Canadian geese saw it. And you're telling me now that you want to lock all this stuff down. Well, the fact is you may be chairs, and you may be that you are doing iniquity and doing evil, and that you're conspiring against your American citizenry. You're conspiring against us people in the United States who you allegedly work for. But instead, you're going along with the dictatorship in some stability force scenario. Well, then you're traitors. And that's about it. And the Lord Jesus knows all of your names. And he will send the angels. And he's going to get the angels, and they're going to grab you and put you in the fiery furnace forever. Just go read Matthew, the book of Matthew. You'll find it. I've read it to you many times. Now, here's another one. At the Cincinnati IRS building, there were massive demonstrations, but the DHS, the Department of Human Sacrifice, Gestapo police, prevented local news stations from fully covering the protest, and even brought in large vehicles and trucks to block the protests in front of the IRS building, so that the newscasters and the news teams, which they had way down the road and would not allow them into the area, the Department of Human Sacrifice scumbag cops would not allow the news people into the area. You just violated the Constitution right there. And then a protest was protected from zoom lenses because they put up big trucks and surrounded that IRS building there. When the fact of the matter is, when you're doing that, then you're participating in the cover-up, you see. You're participating in the cover-up of violations of constitutional rights. And you see, Harry Truman told you this. Once a government is committed to the principle of silencing the voice of opposition, it has only one way to go, and that is down the path of increasingly repressive measures until it becomes a source of terror to all its citizens and creates a country where everyone lives in fear. Is that what you love to do, DHS in Cincinnati? Right, Pat scum up there in the military? I don't care. I don't care if you're a so-called good guy. And if you are, use the whistleblower provisions and tell the truth and get the word out. And to all those friends of Roland Carnaby, I warned you years ago now. You see where we've now come. Use whatever means necessary that you can use to get the truth out about this. And I'm telling you right now, use all of your influence, any kind of your evidence, what have you, and let us have an investigation of Benghazi, an investigation of IRS Gate. And just incidentally, IRS, you're using, Lerner is using the Fifth Amendment after she suppressed the first. Well, that's right, but then she screwed up. She screwed up, didn't she? And old Issa made sure that she did it twice. She gave her initial statement, But she also answered a question that Daryl Issa asked her. And the question was, is this, by the way, I'm looking at this document here, Ms. Lerner, are these your answers to the Inspector General's questions? And she says, I don't have one of those documents. It's, get her one real quick. And they get her one. And they said, are these your answers? She says, yes. So he made sure the second time that she did not invoke the Fifth Amendment. She answered the question directly. She is now liable to come back. If she refuses to come back on the subpoena to that committee hearing, Ms. Lerner can be arrested for contempt of Congress and thrown in jail, which is a felony, thrown in jail. And I will tell you what, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, somebody's calling me in the background here to goof the show up. Anyway, the fact is, ladies and gentlemen, is that she could be arrested now. And I think if she doesn't answer the questions, then she should be. Because, you see, that is the case. When you talk to the feds, you have to invoke it from the beginning and stay the course. Don't ever talk to any federal officer without counsel. Refuse to talk to FBI, ATF, any of them without counsel, because anything you say will be used against you, you see. And they'll spin it this way, that way, the other way. And I will tell you something. Consequently, she and her attorney should know better. But you see, they think that they're loosied up and that they got the power. And they got the power over you. And in a sense, they do. Because they don't tell you is that you cannot use the Fifth Amendment defense in tax court with the IRS. They refuse it. In IRS court, you are guilty until proven innocent. But you see, they were instituted as an agency, and they were an entity that came out of Puerto Rico and the Inland Revenue Service, and they work directly and collect the money for the Federal Reserve Bank, which is not federal and has no reserves. Those people that issue the currency, which now is flooding the world and going into the hands of foreign banks to the tune of trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, and going into the hands of all the scumbags that own stock in the Federal Reserve Bank, and they're buying the treasuries up. They're using monopoly money to buy pieces of paper that represent monopoly money, and they just keep doing it. And now we're told that there's so much of it going on that if Bernanke stops, that the entire world economy will collapse. Well, it started just as V said. It started just as V, who was talking with Steve Quayle on the Hagman show a few weeks back. Remember what V said about how it started in Japan? It's starting in Japan. So I will tell you, get your money out of these banks, these 401ks, these stock market accounts. And even though they're driving down the price of gold and silver, just understand that B has told you about that too. They intend to take it even down further. If you read stevequayle.com, the alert section, you will see what B said. But what they're trying to do is to drive it down artificially, because the Federal Reserve, who can print as much money as they want to, is printing the money, hands it to J.P. Morgan, allegedly, or some other big banks, allegedly, who then naked short silver and gold in the billions and billions of dollars all at once and try to force you little people from, the weak hands, they think. Well, let me tell you something. You get a good grip, and you got good grip strength. If you listen to this show, then you're of the right stuff. You got the good grip strength, and you are with the Lord Jesus. You keep a hold of your gold and silver, and you keep a hold of your firearms, and don't let anybody take them from you. Don't let anybody take them from you. Now, the candidate for Nevada governorship has stated that there is a problem with the Boy Scouts of America, possibly Boy Scouts of America Big Jamboree, that instead of being held at the a military base like it has been for, 30 years or so, that they used to hold it. Let's see, what was the base out there in Virginia? Let's see. Let me think where. Was it Lee? Camp Lee? I don't know, Fort Lee? I don't recall exactly where they've held it. But the fact is, they've got this new deal that the Bechtel Reserve in Mount Hope, West Virginia, I guess according to local pressure and rampant rumors about how there's possibly something going to happen there, that they would have to lock up all of the Boy Scouts of America and all their families or whoever's up there camping on the grounds because of some incident or biological or some kind of a thing or radiological or some kind of a problem. They actually allowed some people in, but you couldn't get to see all of this. You could only see certain portions of it. And they allowed 1,500 cars to be filled for a limited tour of the grounds. And a lot of local citizens said it's no secret that certain areas of the reserve are not allowed for staff nor citizens to be accessed. So what is going on up there at the Bechtel Reserve in Mount Hope, West Virginia? What is going on? And why didn't they leave it at the U.S. military base? They've had it for 30, 40 years where they've done this thing. But that is one that's going down and being taken place right now, or will be in the near future. Then you have the SEAL source that talks about the fact that there's all kind of checkpoints going on. Well, there are all kind of checkpoints going on. He also says that some of the SEAL teams are standing down, those looking for the nuclear weapons inside Montana or somewhere. I don't know about that. There is constant nest work going on because there are buckets of sun extant. Those that Steve Quayle knew about a long time ago from deep background sources, saying that in that old Chicagoland area where they went in and got one or two, but there was a total of 5. And that was back in 2004, which we reported a number of times. So, ladies and gentlemen, there is the possibility of that. Plus, there's also all these Russians are now in the United States. And then the Russian, according to Stanislav Lunev and others, the GRU guy and other defectors, the United States could have at that time asked for the locations, as many other countries did, of the nuclear devices that were buried in numerous locations all around the United States, outside of D.C., other places. But the U.S. never did ask for that information. So consequently, all the Russian GRU, KGB, and FSB types, and the stay behind Spetsnaz know where all those, and those have been maintained. So there's a lot of stuff out there. And the fact of the matter is, you have allegedly let's say you have a presidential type lizard who, when he was elected, was celebrated by the KGB, the old KGB boys who recruited him, now the FSB in Moscow and in St. Petersburg, cheering him on. And then allegedly, the king of Saudi Arabia put $1 billion in a bank account in the Cayman Islands with somebody's name on it. Guess who allegedly the name was after an election? So I will tell you this, and this is out of the Declaration of Independence. Then I'm going to come back. I'm going to tell you some more here about what's going on, but it's just time to say it again. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate the government's long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time that this guy be impeached. It's time that the Secretary of State be impeached. It's time that Eric Holder be impeached. And you just go down the list. You got Fast and Furious running the guns to Chapo Guzman and other drug lords in Mexico. The robo-signing, perjured affidavits filed in court cases, over 100,000. The IRS, Tea Party, and all the other groups, the Jewish groups, the Christian groups, the Right to Life groups, the individual reporters, all the individual people who were in the Tea Parties and all the different conservative groups that they've gone and attacked, and all the people who they've come to try to kill a number of times because you speak the truth and because you are for the Lord and you do not cotton any of this evil iniquity crap that these people are doing and the violations of the laws of the Lord in heaven and the violations of the Constitution. And all of a sudden, we are the terrorists, we're the bad guys, when in fact it is the criminal government that is doing this. And then this policeman says, I got to quit ranting. Well, let me tell you something, buddy. I'm going to rant till the cows come home. And you'd better hope that you have your family sequestered on your own somewhere and that you don't have them on the list, that when you come off a shift and martial law takes place and you find out that everybody's gone to the secret place for their own protection, at that point in time is when they say to you, aha, well, you're going to do what we say because we got your family held in pawn, buddy. Now, I will tell you, there's some other stuff going on as well. Apparently, there's massive checkpoints going on at the border checkpoint of Louisiana and Arkansas. They're stopping a lot of cars down there. I also had from a deep background source that contacted Greg Evenson. I mean, we can't verify this as yet. Did you hear me? Can't verify this as yet, but allegedly something may have taken place today or yesterday or today at Fort Benning, where apparently, according to what was told to Greg, deep background, and can't prove it either way or the other. If anybody knows, let us know. You can always contact me. You can go to Steve777 at stevequell.com and you can put it attention Hawk, and I'll get it. Or you can contact Steve directly. You can contact Greg Evenson. It's Greg at the heartlandusa.com. So anyway, if anybody knows, at Fort Benning, allegedly, some U.S. soldiers at Fort Benning who are strong advocates of the Second Amendment of the Constitution, apparently, from what the story was said, and we can't verify this is the third time I've said it now, but we're going to go ahead and report it anyway because it's the type of thing that is true to type, that apparently the Department of Homeland Security goons, Gestapo goons, went into the homes of some of the military personnel to confiscate weapons, firearms, personal firearms, and ammunition of U.S. military, and that there may have been some incident involving that. Now, if you've heard about that, let us know. If you can say that and confirm that it never happened, let us know that too. But it's not the type of thing, even on a base, that will also be widely known. It could have been 3, 4, 5 people. And believe me, this was not what we're talking about, some jihadi Joe going to shoot up the whole works. This was going against somebody who you would call is a red-blooded American who believes in the Constitution and the Lord, who is strong advocates of the right to bear arms. And in their own private residences, apparently, the DHS has gone in to confiscate something. So let us know if that's what's going on. Now, these texts apparently that were sent to Pam Shupert, which I don't know if they're, I can't verify they're true or not, but some of these are, I would say, that have been proven otherwise to be true. For instance, this whole tornado system, and it's still ongoing down in Moore and Oklahoma City in that area. They're still tuning it up. Dutch Sense came out and showed you all the squares and all the stuff prior to it. I saw pictures that Steve Quayle had of the weird cloud pattern where you could actually see the tunneling lasers of weather weapons, okay, that created these storms, intensified it, and popped them up real quick all along the line. And you see, that gave a couple days there to where the Joker lizard and all of his stuff were not in the news. The Benghazi IRS and all of the AP and the taking down of the reporters. And apparently, the night rail uses up a lot of things. Got to go, ladies and gentlemen. Good night to all you people out there in America. Don't go into Luciferian night without a fight. Stand for the Lord. Stand for your family and the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. And then, mighty men and women of valor, we thank you for all you do. If you have the ability to take it to the Luciferians, do so. And do it quick. And to them old Fandango Rangers and Mickey LaPua, I know you're ready, and you're ready to go. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you.